Good afternoon. I'm County Prosecutor Michael O'Malley. With me is Councilman Kerry McCormick, 2nd District Commander Tom Stocco, and we're just here today to let this community know that there has been arrests in the rash of carjackings that have occurred on the near west side and one in the city of Lakewood over the last several weeks. First and foremost, I want to thank the very diligent work of the Cleveland Police Department, and in particular the 2nd District the 2nd District Detective Unit, that quickly gathered together all the facts, gathered together all the evidence, which led to the arrest last night of a juvenile, and several other juveniles are also suspected in the in this rash of carjackings. In particular, the carjacking last Thursday where an individual was also sexually assaulted. And again, people in the city of Cleveland need to remain vigilant, as they do in all communities. This is an aberration. This is not normal activity. But thankfully, the individuals who were responsible for this rash have been apprehended. They're currently locked up, and they will probably be staying there. But first and foremost, let me introduce Commander Tom Stocco to talk about the investigation.
Hi, thanks, Prosecutor. Again, for those of you that don't know me, Commander Tom Stocco, District 2 Commander for the Division of Police. When we got information about this matter last Thursday, it became a priority pretty quickly. Not because it was a robbery, because unfortunately we have robberies occasionally around the city, but because of how this one unfolded. It didn't involve just a robbery. It turned into a sexual assault and really a kidnapping where this young lady was held against her will. I assigned my major crimes detectives to take a look at this case. They pulled together a lot of resources, talked to a lot of detectives from around the city, some of the detectives that we have right here in the 2nd District. We involved our federal partners to help us do some surveillance. As a result, we were able to home in on the suspects, and it culminated last night with the arrest, as the prosecutor said, of a 16-year-old juvenile. We're going to continue working on that case. We believe we've identified a few other juveniles that were involved in this matter. And again, working with the prosecutor and his wonderful staff, we're going to pursue this and hopefully bring it to an end.
Thank you. Thank you, Commander and Prosecutor. My name is Kerry McCormick, and I'm the Ward 3 City Council person. I represent downtown Cleveland, Ohio City, Tremont, and a part of the Clark-Fulton neighborhood. At first I just want to say that I live a block away from where this incident happened. My family lives in the community. We love our neighborhood. Ohio City has seen a lot of great things happen in it, from brand new businesses to new folks moving in to our longtime residents engaged in the process of the neighborhood. Ohio City is a safe neighborhood. As you can see through our data, there's been a decline in violent crime and crime on the near west side of the city of Cleveland. Unfortunately, a small group of people can commit a very heinous and impactful crime like we saw with this incident, and it shakes our community. Our community is a tight-knit community. Our community looks after each other. Our community cares about each other. So when this happened, we were flooded with communications from folks to support the woman who is the victim here. We will do whatever we can to ensure that she has the resources she needs and any services that she needs after this event. I want to thank Prosecutor O'Malley, who was directly involved when this happened, hands-on to ensure that the violent criminal that committed this act was brought to justice. Commander Tom Stocco, just as hands-on with this incident. The commander personally was involved to ensure that these criminals were found and brought to justice, as well as the Division of Police 2nd District officers who were involved in ensuring that this person was caught. What I will say is that, again, we've got a wonderful, diverse community on the near west side of the city of Cleveland. And my message is, if you come into our community and you commit a heinous crime like this, we will use every single resource possible to ensure that you're apprehended and brought to justice. There is way too much good things happening in our community, way too many folks that are working really hard to ensure that we maintain a wonderful neighborhood for us to allow something like this to negatively impact us. So we're a strong community. We come together around things like this. We ensure that the folks that commit these crimes are brought to justice. And none of this could have happened without our partners in the prosecutor's office in the Division of Police, so I want to thank them.
Just want to go over the 6 incidents. And again, we think that there was groups of individuals who were loosely tied. Some were involved in some incidents, some were involved in others. But what we're looking at is an incident from November 21st at West 32nd and Church, and another incident on November 21st in the vicinity of West 56 and Tillman, an incident November 29th, which was a incident on Fulton Road near Momocho Restaurant. Another incident on November 29th in Tremont in the vicinity of Jefferson and West 6. Also an incident on November 29th in the city of Lakewood. And then finally, the horrific occurrence on December 5th near Church Avenue. And again, you know, as a former councilman in the city of Cleveland, I can really appreciate the hard work and how citizens take pride in their community and they band together to try to make their community safe. And we've seen that over the last several weeks in both Ohio City, Tremont, and Detroit Shoreway. And those individuals that reside in those communities take a great deal of pride in their communities. They're thriving communities within the city of Cleveland. They're growing. And quite frankly, as the councilman has indicated, they are very safe. And it's unfortunate when an incident like this occurs or a string of incidents occurs, and it's why it's so critical that the neighbors band together, work together, watch out for each other. And my message is to the citizens of all communities, you always have to remain vigilant. You always have to look around. You always have to look at your surroundings, no matter what city you live in. And again, I just want to personally thank the hardworking members of the Cleveland Police Department who quickly brought this situation under control and made those critical arrests from last night. But the investigation does continue. And again, to individuals who are choosing to use guns and carjack individuals, because 5 of these 6 incidents were carjackings, we will track you down and we are going to hold you accountable. There's nothing that upsets me more than when somebody gets a gun placed in their face or a gun placed to the side of their head and they're removed from their vehicles and their vehicles are stolen. Those people will forever be changed by the incident that had occurred to them. And I just want to let individuals know that we take those situations very, very seriously, and those individuals will be held accountable. Thank you.
What was the motive? I mean, was it stealing these cars for joyrides, or selling them, stripping them?
Well, you know, the carjackings also come along with thefts. They don't just steal the car. They're stealing the purses, they're stealing the iPhones, they're taking the merchandise, they're taking money. So the motive is always theft. It's always monetary, but and unfortunately, the last one is also a sexual assault. But you know, the motive is different. But again, these are very young individuals, and what this community has been seeing is a rash of crime driven by youngsters and guns. And certainly, we have to tighten our gun laws in this country. What we are seeing is madness. The availability of guns is out of control. But again, the great work of the Cleveland Police Department quickly brought this under control. But I'm sure there's a variety of reasons.
Do you believe the suspects are responsible for more than one of these 6?
I would just say this. The investigation continues. We have both the Cleveland Police Department, suburban police departments are looking at their crimes over the last several weeks. The investigation continues, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me if they're involved in more.
And are the victims all women, or?
I would just say generally, we have seen the tendency is a lot of times, a majority of the times, is that when these individuals are targeting individuals, they're targeting females and the elderly. But there were several men involved in this. 2 of these 6 where I know for sure were men. So everybody can be a victim, but generally a majority of the times it's women and the elderly.
The 16-year-old you arrested, that's for all 6?
He's involved in a majority of them. But the players were interchanged, as we often see.
How big does this ring appear to be?
Well, you know, it's still under invest.
Was there an escalation of violence kind of as these went along?
I would say that is generally, you know what, we have a video, and I think they may play it for you, where you see, you know, the unusual thing is, one of the carjackings, the one on Fulton, the individual was which is what I would recommend to all people. They cooperated with the robbers, and you know what? He threw his keys to the robbers, and he wasn't harmed. And my goal is that none of these crimes ever happen, but my suggestion and my recommendation is to the citizens of this community, hopefully we stamp this out and it never happens again, but if somebody does put a gun in your face or to the side of your head, cooperate. Give them what they want. Let law enforcement do their job, and we will work to apprehend them and hold them accountable.
The group, is that gang affiliation, or they just?
It's still under invest.
Are the carjackings while sitting at a traffic light or coming, or is there a car in front of them, or are they?
You know, all different things. You know, oftentimes you'll see it when somebody's exiting their vehicle. Again, you got to remain vigilant. I know one of, you know, about 3 or 4 weeks ago where I knew the victim's father. She was sitting in her car playing on her cell phone. So again, you have to remain vigilant. No matter what city you live in, you always have to remain vigilant. And if you're distracted by playing with your cell phone sitting in your car, it gives somebody the opportunity to creep up on you and do you harm. So I would just suggest you always remain vigilant no matter what city you're in.
Are these suspects from that area?
I'll just say that they're affiliated with that area.
Are all the suspects minors?
No, there was one individual who was indicted today who's 19 years old.
Trayvon Whetstone.
Trayvon Whetstone, who was indicted today in relation to the robbery from November 29th on Fulton.
And how many suspects in total in custody?
We actually have two in custody, right now. Others that we believe we've identified, and we're tying up some loose ends.
Right, but the individual who committed the sexual assault is in custody.
He's under
And
arrest.
that's the
Whetstone in
16-year-old.
custody?
Whetstone,
Yeah.
yes.
And do you think you'll charge these people as adults?
Well, I can tell you this. We have a process over at the juvenile court. The 13-year-olds are too young, but certainly the 16-year-old who was responsible for the sexual assault and is responsible for a majority of these aggravated robberies, carjackings, and the sexual assault, I will say we will review his history, we'll review the nature of these crimes, and then a determination will be made whether there will be bind-overs filed, but it's likely.
You mentioned 13-year-olds. What are the age ranges? A couple of 13s?
19, 16, a couple 13s. And again, Paul, this goes to the whole situation that we're seeing in this community where the age is continuing to drop. The juveniles will be handled, the 13-year-olds will be handled in juvenile court. But we continue to see this dropping in age of those who are committing violent crimes, and it's tragic. And you know, we as a community need to look at what is causing this rash of violence amongst juveniles. I can tell you, because I've looked at it recently, in the period of 2017, 2018, we had 21 juveniles charged with homicide. It's those type of numbers that are staggering. And certainly we have to look at the availability of guns, but also what is causing these individuals to lash out and commit such violent crimes at such a young age.
Was there a common MO for these crimes? Were they hitting during the day? Were they hitting at night? Were they hitting populated areas?
Let's just say that most of these were committed in the evening hours. And again, they are looking when people, generally they're committed when people exit their vehicles or are going to their vehicles. So, you know, you just always have to remain vigilant. When you park your car, look around, see if anybody's around, see if anybody's walking towards you. But generally they're when people are exiting their vehicles.
Were they kind of casing the neighborhood, just looking for opportunities?
I would say that's pretty accurate, yes.
Their videos?
Yes. Tyler's going to show you one from the,
No Macho restaurant.
Turn off the overhead lights.
this is one from November 29th on Fulton Road. The individuals are riding up. And then you will see them walking down the sidewalk later on. waiting for an individual who just parked his car over here to come walking towards them. He was attempting to enter the restaurant, where they quickly put a gun to him, and you will see him toss his keys. Right there, they went and grabbed his keys, and then they drove away in his car, but they pointed handguns at him, and he did the wise thing. He quickly turned his keys over, did not want to fight with them, and again, they drove away. And again, I think the lesson here is always cooperate. You don't want any harm to occur to you or your family members. Cooperate and let law enforcement do its job.
Were all 6 of the incidents involving weapons?
Yes,
They were all robberies at minimum?
all aggravated robberies at minimum. The last one was an aggravated robbery with a sexual assault.
Is there more video?
That's it.
That's all we have at this time.
Turn the lights back on. Did they find the car and stuff?
The investigation's ongoing.
So are all the 4 suspects, are they all working together? Are they in a gang, or are they collaborating with each other?
I'd say they're affiliated. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for coming.